In the Heart of the Sea is the new Ron Howard film, and what this movie's about is basically telling us the true story of what inspired the legend of Moby Dick. Now, there are two sides of the story. There's the one aspect of the story where Ben Whishaw plays Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick, talking to Brendan Gleeson, who is the only survivor of the whale attack. And then we actually do have scenes in the past with Chris Hemsworth as Owen Chase, and his kind of struggle with the actual captain of the ship. He's the first mate, and then you have Benjamin Walker playing the captain. They don't really see eye to eye. Owen Chase really earned his right to be a captain, and this guy was basically just born into it. So going into this movie, I was actually really excited for it because it looked suspenseful. I heard that it was pushed back from March to December, and I was like, does this mean this movie's gonna be Oscar-worthy? That's pretty dang great. Unfortunately, as much as I actually did like this movie, and I think it is getting hated on a little bit too much, it is a little disappointing. Is 2015 just the year of disappointing things? What I really liked about this movie was the acting. No one does a terrible job at all. Everyone was great. Chris Hemsworth in particular, I thought he did some very good work. It's like he had to lose a lot of weight for this role, and it's like, oh dude, that looks deadly. But he pulled it off. He was great. I love Chris Hemsworth. And Tom Holland is in this movie, the new Spider-Man. So we have a movie with Thor and Spider-Man. And Tom Holland was pretty good. This is actually, I'm pretty sure, my first movie that I've seen with him, and I thought he did a pretty good job. And I can officially say that I am actually glad they picked him to play Spider-Man. I think he's gonna do a pretty good job. Oh yeah, and speaking of comic book characters, Cillian Murphy is in this movie. He plays the Scarecrow in the Dark Knight trilogy. He was also pretty good in this movie. He wasn't in it a whole lot, but he was still pretty dang good. And Benjamin Walker, I thought he did a very good job in this movie. And I gotta say, he and Chris Hemsworth, the way they bounced off each other at some parts, that was really good. Their chemistry was actually very good. You could definitely feel the uneasiness between these two characters because they don't necessarily agree with each other all the time. However, as far as characters go, you don't necessarily care for them. I cared for Hemsworth, I cared for Holland, I even cared for Benjamin Walker. But everyone else that's not really that developed and basically is just there to be expendable, yeah, not interesting at all. They don't even really dive into their characters either. They don't even try to make an attempt to flesh them out or anything. There was one emotional scene involving Chris Hemsworth and another guy on the ship. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's actually pretty good, but you don't feel for that character, you feel for Hemsworth, because Hemsworth has more of a character. So when Hemsworth gets emotional about this one thing, then you actually care about what's going on. But if Hemsworth wasn't a good character either, then I probably wouldn't have cared about that scene at all. I should clarify that no one was bad. Everyone did a good job. It's just character needed to be worked on. And in fact, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the most interesting aspect of this movie isn't even the whalers, it's Ben Whishaw and Brendan Gleeson talking to each other. Those two were great. I love their scenes. Ben Whishaw, I didn't even know he was in this movie, but he was really good, and Brendan Gleeson in particular, very good. I love the guy. Their scenes together were honestly more powerful than anything else in this entire movie. There are some pretty cool suspenseful scenes involving Moby Dick. Oh, sorry, it's not technically Moby Dick, it's just a giant whale that inspired Moby Dick. Sorry. Speaking of whales, the CGI for them, it was pretty good. There were only like a couple times where I thought they were fake, but for the most part they were pretty good. However, the green screen, this needs to be addressed. It's horrendous. There are some shots where you could instantly point out, there's the green screen, that boat is not surrounded by water right now, they are in just some green screen room, maybe someone splashed some water on them. It was like, oh my god, it was horrible. Like, you could tell, it's like, it wasn't even like only a couple shots, it was like the majority of the time whenever they're out there, it's like, fix it! So I can't really say that this movie was visually stunning or just a visual masterpiece, because that green screen, man, whoa. However, I do like Ron Howard's directing style in this movie. He had some pretty cool shots, like had some cool underwater shots where it kind of bobbed down and go back up. I really like that. What I'm most disappointed about is that this movie could have been visually a masterpiece. It's just they didn't really decide to touch up on that green screen before sending it out to theaters. It was right there. It's like anyone can point it out, just fix it. However though, I do suggest you go out to see this movie because I think that this is a very good movie. There are some great scenes in this movie. I honestly did not feel bored throughout the duration of this 2-hour movie whatsoever. I was interested in everything that was going on. Even when the people are starting to get a little weaker and maybe a little thinner too, I was still interested in that. That's really impressive of them, and the acting was great. Even the talking scenes between Brendan Gleeson and Ben Whishaw were interesting. They were my favorite part of the whole movie. It's just this movie could have been so much more as far as visuals go and character. This movie could have been amazing. So for those reasons, I'm gonna have to give In the Heart of the Sea a B. If they just touched up on a lot of the visuals, and if they just fleshed out some of the characters a bit more, this movie would have been a masterpiece, I think. But overall, I'm not hating on this movie. I like this movie. I would watch this movie again. I love the performances. It's just, it could have been a lot more. But if you saw In the Heart of the Sea, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and I'm gonna have a trailer review for X-Men Apocalypse up in a bit. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.